I'm going to live at my parents' house starting in 3 days, said my eldest son, whom I had been avoiding until now. Despite thinking he couldn't hear me, I could hear his wife and their high school sophomore child on the other end of the phone. That's great. From now on, Grandma can take care of all the housework. Yay, let's have her make snacks every night. And of course, we'll get an allowance, right? Of course, all grandparents are sweet to their grandchildren. Hearing the voices of my son's wife and grandchild planning to leave all the housework to me, and even expecting an allowance, I couldn't help but frown. Living in the family home is out of the question, I said. But my son, on the other end of the phone, didn't think about the meaning of my words and just said, "It's fine, it's fine. Mom must be lonely by herself, right? I'll live with you. No choice," and then hung up. I never said I was lonely and wanted to live together. What kind of misunderstanding is my son under? If they do move in, it's going to be troublesome. Well, I've decided to not get involved and just observe from a distance what happens to them. It won't hurt me anymore, no matter what happens to them. Emily is my name, and since my husband passed away last year, spending time in the family home has become a bit burdensome. The house feels too big for me to live alone, and it's just lonely without my husband, who used to live with me. So since becoming alone, I was thinking of moving to a smaller place. But even if a single person moves to another property, the loneliness remains the same. As I was thinking about this, I received a message on my smartphone. It was from my high school-age granddaughter. "Grandma, I'm coming over today. Let me stay over." Catherine, the daughter of my son Tom, occasionally asks to stay at my house like this. Whenever she wants to stay over, it's always when Tom and his wife Jenny are not at home. So if I refuse, I would end up leaving a high school student alone at home, so I don't have the option of not accepting. I replied, "All right, I'll be waiting." But my message was left unread. Neighbors and classmates with grandchildren always say, "Grandchildren are so dear, they wouldn't hurt even if you put them in your eyes." I can do anything for my grandchildren. But recently, I've had a different opinion. Even if they're grandchildren, incompatible people are incompatible. I've never said this to acquaintances who adore their grandchildren, but it's what I've been thinking in my heart. Catherine often stays over at my house, but staying over doesn't necessarily mean we get along well. The reason I feel I don't get along with Catherine is due to her attitude and personality. On that day, Catherine came in, threw her shoes off at the entrance, and quickly headed inside, going straight to the fridge. No Western sweets like cream puffs or cake. I thought you would have prepared something since I contacted you. She entered the house without any greeting or request, and immediately started checking our fridge. Anyway, she would request whatever she wanted for dinner, so I hadn't gone shopping yet, planning to go together. "Catherine, you need to line up your shoes at the entrance. It doesn't look neat otherwise." Yes, here comes Grandma's nagging again. That's why Mom and Dad don't want to live with you, you know. I never said I wanted to live together, so it's fine. Besides, I don't want you to feel embarrassed in public due to these habits, so I have to correct you. Catherine always disliked it when I pointed out her habits or behavior. It seemed that her mother, my son's wife Jenny, felt the same. One time, when Jenny left her shoes scattered at the entrance, I said, "Jenny, please line up your shoes." She retorted, "It's none of your business." I hate being told what to do. Is this some kind of harassment? You're just lonely because Tom was taken away from you. I'll never give him back. Jenny reacted disproportionately to my simple request. I don't think of Tom as having been taken away by Jenny, nor do I want him back. Jenny seemed to misunderstand that I resented her for marrying Tom and taking him away. Well, ever since I pointed out something to Jenny, she started avoiding my house, perhaps disliking my corrections. Since I prefer to avoid unnecessary involvement with people like her, I didn't interact much with Jenny. My late husband also used to say, "There's no need to forcibly interact with such difficult people." There's no benefit in stressing ourselves out, so we didn't have much to do with them. However, since my house is just 2 train stations away, Catherine often comes over. The reason isn't charming, like wanting to see her. Grandparents, but because her parents want to go out and leave her with us. In short, Tom and Jenny would plan their outings without checking if I could watch Catherine. And then Catherine would contact me on the day. If she contacted me earlier, I would ask, "Couldn't you have chosen another day?" So it became a pattern that she suddenly announced her stay on the day. My husband and I repeatedly said it was troublesome at the last minute, but Tom and Jenny never listened, assuming old people don't have anything to do anyway. Catherine seems to overestimate her presence, thinking, "You must be happy since your granddaughter is visiting, right?" My husband and I were troubled by our son's family, and this didn't change even after my husband passed away. The family's demands seemed to grow stronger than when he was alive. "Ah, this pen looks expensive. Since it belonged to Grandpa, it's okay for me to have it, right?" "Thank you." Despite my silence, Catherine was trying to pocket my husband's fountain pen, a memento. I quickly grabbed Catherine's wrist to stop her. "Wait, that's Grandpa's cherished fountain pen. It's not expensive, just well used." As I took it back, she said, "Oh, I thought it was something valuable," without an apology, and returned to the living room. Entering the study without permission and trying to claim others' belongings as her own is not normal, even if she's still a child. What will happen if she takes a friend's belongings and it becomes a serious issue? Despite my scolding Catherine for trying to steal, she ignored me completely, as if it were nothing. After Catherine left, Jenny called me angrily, having heard about the incident from her daughter. "Don't you love your granddaughter? Calling her a thief is the lowest. You are not human," she accused me. Although I never called Catherine a thief, she indeed tried to take the pen. Moreover, since she thought the pen was valuable, she probably intended to sell it. Even so, Jenny, it's absurd to just take my husband's mementos as her own, even if she's family. Haven't you taught her what's wrong? Considering Catherine's lack of discipline, maybe Jenny herself has a habit of taking others' belongings. If Catherine doesn't line up her shoes because Jenny doesn't, then Catherine won't change her behavior either. Thinking about this, I felt uneasy about Jenny's parenting. Well, I'm not Catherine's mother and Jenny is, so I can't say too much. However, it seemed Jenny was more upset about being reprimanded by me than the content of the advice, saying, "You're so noisy." Speaking ill of family is the worst. Maybe I should stop leaving Catherine with you, as if watching Catherine was somehow a benefit for me. I never said I wanted to look after Catherine. If this continues, I'd rather she didn't come at all. She doesn't have to come. Tired of Catherine's behavior and actions during her visits since my husband's passing, I said this. The conversation with Jenny ended there, and for a while, Catherine did stop coming to our house. I decided to get my surroundings in order now that my son's family wasn't causing me trouble, so I started to make various arrangements. First, the house I was living in had been my husband's since he was a child, and was now quite run down in places. So I decided to buy a new house. I had been considering moving, but the thought of leaving this house, with all its memories, and living alone in a small room would emphasize my loneliness. I had been hesitating to act, but then a close friend of mine, who had also lost her husband, suggested, "Our kids are grown and on their own now. How about room sharing?" Another close friend, who had recently gone through a late life divorce, also joined in, asking, Can I join in on this room sharing idea? I decided to share a house with these friends, with whom I've had a relationship for over 50 years, and we decided to build a new house. We bought a new house for $500,000. I was sure our lives would be much more enjoyable from now on. As I was thinking this, I received a call from Tom for the first time in a while. Until now, I only heard from my son's family when Catherine wanted to stay over, or when Jenny would berate me. The last time Tom contacted me directly was 5 years ago, asking to borrow money. This is perfect, I thought. I need to tell him about the new house and the room sharing. But Tom's first words were shocking. Mom, it's me, Tom. We're going to live in the family home starting in 3 days. What? His sudden words made me forget everything I was going to say. I could hear Jenny and Catherine's voices on the other end, even though Tom seemed to think I couldn't. That's great. From now on, we can leave all the housework to Grandma. Yay, let's have her make snacks every night. And of course, we'll get an allowance, right? Of course, all old people are sweet to their grandchildren, after all. Jenny is already an adult, and Catherine is in her second year of high school. Yet what are they talking about? Taking life too easy seems to be the perfect phrase for them. Living in the family home is out of the question, I said, but Tom, on the other end, didn't consider my words at all, confidently saying, "It's fine, it's fine. Mom must be lonely by herself, right? I'll live with you, no choice." And then he quickly hung up. What does he mean by "it's fine"? It seems Tom suddenly decided to move and live with me in the family home. But I've already decided to move and bought a new house. I've already moved my belongings into the new house and am about to start a shared living situation with people I trust. Yet, without listening to what I have to say, he plans to move back into the family home. That family home is being demolished. By the time Tom insists on moving in 3 days, the house will have been completely demolished and unfit to live in. When I tried to call Tom back, he wouldn't answer my calls. It seems like he has blocked me. He just says what he wants and doesn't listen to me. Jenny and Catherine are the same. I usually don't contact them, so I wouldn't know if they blocked me. But this time, all 3 of them have shut me out. If that's their attitude, then it can't be helped. I could inform them of the current situation through relatives, but I don't feel obliged to go that far. I've decided to focus on my new life and pretend I don't know anything when they move into the demolished family home in 3 days. Then on the fateful day, 3 days later, I happened to be near the site of the family home for some business. There I saw Jenny standing dumbfounded in front of the now vacant lot where the house had been. It seems Tom and Catherine weren't there. When Jenny saw me, she ran up to me, looking like a gaping fish. "Mother-in-law, the house." "Yes, the house is gone. So why are you here? You came to my house, right? But as you can see, there's no house. I've moved." As I answered Jenny with a cold gaze, she stammered, "Where did you move to?" She was trying to find out my current location. Raising an eyebrow, I responded, "Excuse me, why would I tell you that? I certainly don't want you to barge in, assuming you're doing me a favor by living together." Barging in? We were doing this for you. Which mouth is saying that, I wonder? I asked. 3 days ago, Tom made the call, so they probably thought I couldn't hear their voices, but I heard both Jenny and Catherine. "You were going to dump all the housework on me, and what was it?" "An allowance. I don't recall ever agreeing to become your servant or your wallet." As I spoke, Jenny's face, not expecting me to have heard, turned pale. Even if I hadn't heard Jenny and Catherine's words at that time, I surely wouldn't have considered living with my son's family. I didn't think that at all. Even as she paled, acknowledging the truth in what I had said, Jenny began to lie. Catherine and I are truly concerned about you. Ever since father-in-law passed away, you've been alone in that big house. We thought you might feel lonely, so we regularly sent Catherine to the family home. Thanks to that, you weren't alone and must have felt reassured, right? I could only feel incredulous at what she was saying. I let out a big sigh. Hearing my sigh, she flinched, perhaps thinking she shouldn't upset me further. Not that it matters, my mood is already very bad, and it's not getting any worse. I don't want any more involvement with my son and his wife anyway. You know, I *have* felt lonely living alone then. But do you think I would find peace of mind allowing a granddaughter who thought about stealing and selling my dear husband's belongings for money to suddenly come into my house? Would anyone be happy to have a thief sent to their home? But it's something your granddaughter did. Even now, Jenny can't admit that what her daughter is doing is theft. In other words, a crime. Or does she know it's a crime, but thinks it will be forgiven anyway because it's family? I was just appalled by Jenny's optimistic demeanor. Doesn't she realize that living together is something I wouldn't even consider in this situation? Anyway, I have no intention of living with you all. That's terrible. We've already canceled our lease at the apartment we were living in. We even told you we were moving. You're the ones who decided to move without my consent, right? I said living in the family home was out of the question. Despite my clear stance, Jenny still wants to paint me as the villain and themselves as victims. She said to me, crying, "But you never explained it properly. It's your fault for not explaining." As she raised her voice, I did the same. "You expect me to explain when you've all blocked my calls. That's impossible. Enough already." I said to her, and she seemed surprised by my reaction. Tears retreated, and she weakly sat down, mumbling, but, what made them suddenly think of living with me? When I asked, I found out a shocking state of affairs about my son's family. It turns out that Tom, Jenny, and Catherine, while living in an apartment, made noise whenever they liked, without considering their neighbors. They frequently received complaints about the noise. Moreover, Jenny had been caught stealing cosmetics and such when visiting other moms in the same apartment building. It seemed they couldn't stay in the apartment anymore. They canceled the lease, but I suspect they were asked to leave by the owner. It's all your own doing, isn't it? I'm cutting ties with you all. Goodbye, I said, and hurriedly returned borrowed items to my neighbors, and left before Tom and Catherine arrived. Later, Tom and Catherine arrived at the now empty lot of the family home and screamed in shock. The neighbors, knowing about my troubles with my son's family, looked at them coldly. Unable to bear the stares, the three of them soon fled. With nowhere to live, they turned to Jenny's brother and his wife. They agreed to let them stay for a while, but with conditions. If you don't find a place within a month, you're out, and they demanded compensation for any touched belongings. Now they're searching for a place. Those three need to understand that they are deeply disliked by others. As for me, I'm enjoying my life with my two close friends in our shared house. For now, I plan to enjoy life without any contact with Tom, Jenny, and Catherine.